big meeting room on the space station was full of noise and strange smells. Ambassador Huyanwu walked slowly to the center stage where he would speak. His black suit was neat and clean, just like always. His hair was combed perfectly and his face showed that polite smile that everyone knew him for. The smile never went away even when aliens said mean things about humans above him. In the watching area, Captain Minho sat in his chair. His hands were tight fists, but he kept them hidden. Under the table, he wore a simple uniform that looked like a merchant ship captain, but that was all fake. He was really a war captain, but nobody was supposed to know that. The rules said humans had to look weak and harmless down below. Huyanwu started talking in his calm voice that carried across the whole room. He had been practicing this speech for weeks, but he already knew it would not work. The alien species never listened to humans anymore. They thought humans were too soft and weak to matter. The room was filled with creatures that looked like nothing from Earth. There were tall lizard people with sharp teeth and scales that caught the light. There were beings made of crystal that clicked and chimed when they moved. There were bird creatures with bright feathers and stone people who looked like walking rocks. Each group sat in their own area, and most of them were not paying attention to the human-speaking. Yongwu held up a tablet with information about new trade routes. His voice was friendly and patient, just like he had been trained. The Terran Federation wants to offer safe passage through our space for all merchant ships. We can reduce shipping costs and provide better security for everyone. Captain Minho wanted to laugh, but not in a good way. Better security? The aliens had no idea what human security really looked like. They thought the small escort ships were all humans had. They thought the peaceful colonies were defenseless. They were so very wrong about everything. The big lizard creature called Consul Theskar stood up slowly. His body was 3 times taller than any human and covered in green scales that looked like armor. His mouth was full of teeth that could bite through metal. When he smiled, it was not friendly at all. What security can the soft humans provide? He said with a voice like gravel. His words came through the translation machines, but everyone could hear the mockery. Your people run away when there is any fighting. You are merchants and farmers, not warriors. Why should we trust you to protect anything? The crystal beings started making their clicking sounds, which meant they agreed. The sound filled the room like rain on a metal roof. Their leader, whose name was too long for humans to say, easily spoke in musical tones that somehow sounded dismissive. Human space is poorly defended. Pirates attack your outer colonies all the time. How can you protect us when you cannot protect yourselves? Minho felt his jaw muscles get tight. He thought about the real human military ships hidden throughout the galaxy. Ships that could destroy entire fleets but had to stay hidden because of the stupid integration protocol. The protocol that made humans pretend to be weak while their people suffered and died. More alien species joined in making fun of humans. The bird people ruffled their feathers and made chirping sounds that meant laughter. The gas cloud beings changed their shapes in patterns that showed amusement. Even the stone people, who usually stayed quiet, were vibrating in a way that meant they found it funny. Huyanwu never stopped smiling, but Minho could see the tiny signs of stress around his eyes. The ambassador had been doing this job for 10 years, taking insults and mockery while trying to make peace with species that saw kindness as weakness. The lizard consul was not finished talking. His voice got louder and more aggressive. 3 of your colonies were raided last month. Thousands of your people died or were taken as slaves. Your security forces were nowhere to be found. Face the truth, human. Your species has no spine for real fighting. The word slaves hit Minho like a punch to the stomach. He had read the classified reports about what happened to those colonists. The vector lizard people took humans to sell in their slave markets. They preferred young, healthy people who could work hard. Human intelligence knew exactly where their people were being held, but the integration protocol said they could not rescue them with military force that would reveal that humans were not really weak. Down in the speaking area, Huyanwu kept his voice calm and diplomatic. The loss of life in those colonies was very sad, and the Terran Federation mourns every citizen we could not protect. However, we believe that more violence is not the answer. We want justice through proper channels, through this very council. The alien laughter got louder and more mocking. They had heard this before. Humans always asked for help instead of taking action. Humans always tried to solve problems with talking instead of fighting. The aliens thought this made humans pathetic, but Captain Minho knew the truth. Every human military officer knew the real reason they could not fight back. It was not because they were weak, it was because they were too strong. If humans used their real weapons, if they showed their true military power, the galaxy would panic. Other species would unite against them out of fear, so humans had to pretend to be harmless while watching their people suffer. The Vector Consul spread his arms wide, showing off his size and strength. This is why your species will never be more than a small power. You do not have the will to take what is yours or defend what you claim to love. The strong take from the weak. This is how the galaxy works. Minho felt his personal communication device buzz against his chest. Only the most important messages could reach him during council meetings. He glanced around the room, noting where the alien guards stood and where the exits were. Old military habits. That his fake job as a merchant captain required him to hide. The message light was blinking red, which meant emergency priority. The sender code made his blood run cold. Admiral Soyoung, supreme commander of what the galaxy thought was just a small exploration fleet. But Minho knew better. Admiral Soyoung commanded the most powerful military force in the galaxy, hidden behind 50 years of careful lies. The message was short, just 7 words that changed everything. Protocol 7 is now active. Masks off. Minho stared at the screen, feeling his heart race. Protocol 7 was the code that every human officer memorized but hoped never to see. It meant the end of the integration protocol. It meant humans could stop pretending to be weak and harmless. It meant the galaxy was about to learn what humanity really was. Around the galaxy right now, every human in uniform was getting the same message. Every ship captain, every colony commander, every military base was learning that the long performance was finally over. After 50 years of playing weak while their people died, humans could finally show their true strength. Down below, Ambassador Hyanwu was still trying to be diplomatic, still asking for help that would never come, still following the old rules that required humans to appear helpless. But Minho could see something changing in the ambassador posture, something that suggested he had gotten the same message. The masquerade was ending and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Captain Minho looked around the council chamber one more time, seeing it with new eyes. All these alien species that had grown comfortable bullying humans were about to learn a very hard lesson. They thought they knew what humans were capable of. They thought they understood human technology and human willpower. They were about to discover how wrong they had been about everything. The show was over and the real humanity was about to step onto the stage. The morning reports on the human escort ship Busan were always the same, but today, Communications Officer J1 looked sick when he brought the latest news from Earth. Captain Minho stared at the glowing pictures that showed the 3 attacked colonies, New Jeju Harmony Station and Port Incheon. The images made his stomach hurt. Burned buildings, broken machines, and empty spaces where 10,347 human beings used to live and work and raise their families. The colonies looked like graveyards now, with black smoke still rising from the ruins. Sir Jaewon said with a shaky voice, "We are getting more news from the people who survived. The Vector did not just steal supplies, they took people, the young ones, and the healthy ones." He stopped talking and swallowed hard. For their slave markets. Minho closed his eyes and tried not to think about what that meant. Every human military officer knew about the Vector slave trade. They liked to buy and sell smart creatures who could do hard work. Human intelligence had detailed reports about their own people being sold like animals in markets across Vector space, but the integration protocol said humans could not use military force to save them. That would show the galaxy that humans were not really weak. Back in the council chamber, Ambassador Hyanwu stood before all the alien delegates with 3 data tablets full of evidence, that proof of what the Vector had done to innocent human families. His usual diplomatic smile looked tired and strained behind him. Big glowing displays showed pictures of the destroyed colonies and lists of people who were dead or missing. Ignored delegates, Hyanwu began, his voice carrying across the huge room. "I bring evidence of planned attacks against human civilian populations. These were not random pirate raids but organized military strikes against defenseless colonies under galactic law. Article 7, I formally request council intervention and immediate deployment of peacekeeping forces." Captain Minho already knew what would happen. The political alliances in the council were not secret. The Vector had military partnerships with the bird people called the Thrawn. The crystal beings owed the lizards money for trade deals. The vote was decided before anyone even spoke. Consul Theskar stood up slowly like he was putting on a show. His huge reptilian body cast shadows across the floor when the lights hit him. The Vector hegemony recognizes no authority over sovereign space operations. What humans call attacks were legal salvage operations in contested sectors. If human colonies cannot defend themselves, maybe they should not exist in those places. The casual way he dismissed 10,000 human lives made some delegates whisper to each other, but not with anger, with agreement. Species that had never faced real human military power were nodding along with the idea that weak people deserved whatever happened to them. Ambassador gripped the speaking platform so hard his knuckles turned white. "Consul Theskar, these were not contested sectors. These were recognized human colonies with families, children, civilians who posed no threat to anyone. They were murdered or enslaved by your military forces. Prove it." The lizard consul hissed, his forked tongue flicking out to taste the air. "Show us your mighty human fleet. Demonstrate your power." "Oh wait," he paused for effect, showing his razor-sharp teeth in what passed for a smile. "You have no fleet, no power, only words and complaints." The chamber filled with sounds that meant laughter from different alien species. Captain Minho watched his ambassador take insult after insult while following orders to keep humanity looking helpless. The captain could feel tension building throughout human space. Every ship captain, every colony commander, every military base was waiting for the word when the vote finally happened. It was exactly what Minho expected. 217 votes against helping humans, 43 votes in favor, 68 abstentions. The council would do nothing to stop the Vector raids. Human lives were not worth the political trouble. "The decision of this council is clear," announced the floating jellyfish creature that ran the meetings, its tentacles pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. "No intervention will be authorized. The human delegation may file a formal complaint through standard diplomatic channels." Standard diplomatic channels meant Years of paperwork and committee meetings, while more humans died or disappeared. Into alien slave markets, Minho felt his communicator buzz and saw a message from Lieutenant Commander Youngsuk, his tactical officer captain. We are getting reports from across the fleet. Morale is at breaking point. The crews are asking when we stop pretending to be merchant marines and start acting like soldiers. Before Minho could answer, another buzz, this time the message that changed everything. Admiral Soyoung authorization code appeared on his screen, followed by 7 words that every human officer had memorized but hoped never to see. Protocol 7 is now active. Masks off. Minho felt like he could not breathe right now. Around the galaxy, the same message was reaching every human commander, every ship captain, every planetary defense coordinator. The carefully kept secret of human weakness was about to end. For 50 years, humanity had played the role of the galaxy weakest spacefaring species. They had taken insults, territorial losses, unfair trade deals, and now the murder of innocents, all to keep galactic peace, all to prove they could live peacefully with species that saw kindness as weakness. The performance was over in the council chamber below. Ambassador Hyan Wu was packing his materials with mechanical movements. His diplomatic mission had failed, just like it was supposed to. The galaxy had been given every chance to solve this crisis through civilized means. They had chosen violence instead. Captain Minho stood up slowly in the gallery, his movement drawing attention from nearby alien observers. For the first time in his diplomatic posting, he was not trying to appear harmless. His posture straightened to full military bearing. His eyes swept the chamber with tactical assessment rather than polite interest. The aliens around him noticed the change. Some of the more intelligent ones looked confused, others seemed worried without knowing why. A few began whispering among themselves about the strange shift in human behavior. Down on the chamber floor, something was happening too. Ambassador Hyan Wu, to his shoulders squared, his head came up, his hands clasped behind his back in a stance that any human would recognize as military attention. The change was subtle but unmistakable to anyone who understood body language. Several alien delegates focused their various sensory organs on the human with newfound attention. The comfortable dynamic of the chamber was shifting in ways they could not quite identify but definitely felt. J1 voice came through. Minho, private communicator again. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting massive power signatures throughout human space. Something big is happening. The concealed battle groups are coming online. Minho smiled for the first time in months. It was not a diplomatic smile. It was the smile of a soldier who had been ordered to hold back for too long and was finally being allowed to fight around the galaxy. Human stealth technology was being deliberately shut down. Military ships that had hidden for decades were revealing themselves. Battle groups that could challenge entire sectors were powering up their weapon systems. The careful performance of human helplessness was crumbling in real time. The mask was coming off and the galaxy was about to meet the real humanity. The council chamber. Ambassador Hyan Wu finished packing and looked up at the assembled delegates. His diplomatic smile was gone, replaced by something that made the nearest aliens unconsciously step back, something that looked very much like the calm before a storm. The silence in the council chamber was different now. It was not the comfortable quiet of routine diplomatic business, but something heavier and more dangerous. Ambassador Hyan Wu stood at the central platform, but his whole body had changed in the minutes after the failed vote. Gone was the slight forward lean of someone asking for favors. Gone was the careful apologetic smile that had marked human diplomacy for 50 years. Captain Minho watched from the gallery as his ambassador straightened to his full height, shoulders squared, hands behind his back in a stance that any human would know as military attention. The change was small but clear to anyone who understood body language. Several alien delegates noticed the shift, their various sensing organs focusing on the human with new attention. On no delegates, Hyan Wu began, and his voice had changed too. The diplomatic warmth was gone, replaced by something colder, more exact. Before I formally close this session, I believe there are certain facts that this council should understand. Consul Theskar of the Vector settled back in his massive chair, his reptilian features showing amusement, more human, begging. Your species has already shown its weakness. What facts could possibly change that reality? The ambassador turned to face the Vector delegation directly, and Minho felt a chill run down his spine. He had seen that look before in the eyes of soldiers who had reached their limit. The fact, Consul, is that everything you think you know about humanity is a carefully built lie. The chamber stirred with the various sounds of confused alien species. Clicking from the crystal beings, low rumbles from the rock people, high-pitched whistles from the bird creatures, but they were listening now in a way they had not been before for 50 years. Hyan Wu continued, his voice carrying easily through the chamber acoustics. The Terran Federation has operated under what we call the Galactic Integration Protocol. This policy required us to present ourselves as weak, harmless, and technologically inferior. We were told to lose territorial disputes, accept bad trade agreements, and endure insults to our species and attacks on our people, all in the name of galactic stability. Paused, letting that information sink in. Minho could see confusion moving through the assembled delegates. The floating jellyfish moderator tentacles were pulsing in rapid patterns that meant extreme worry. "You were lying," Theskar hissed, but there was less certainty in his voice. "Now human technology is primitive. Your ships are barely capable of interstellar travel. Your weapons are ceremonial at best." They Hyanwu asked mildly. He tapped his wrist communicator, and suddenly the chamber central holographic display turned on without permission from the council moderators. The image showed the Busan Minho escort vessel currently docked at the station diplomatic berth. To alien eyes, it looked exactly like what it was supposed to be, a lightly armed escort craft good for protecting trade convoys from small pirates. Sleek but unremarkable, with visible weapon ports that ship databases classified as standard defensive. A race Captain Minho Hyanwu voice carried through the communication system. "Please show our friends what the Busan is actually capable of." From the gallery, Minho spoke for the first time during a council session, his voice carrying the crisp authority of a military commander. "Weapon systems online. Stealth plating disengaged. Full power to sensor arrays." A holographic display updated in real time, showing the Busan as it truly was. Weapon ports that had seemed decorative opened to reveal massive particle beam arrays. The ship hull changed as stealth plating pulled back, exposing additional weapons systems and sensor clusters. What had appeared to be a simple escort vessel revealed itself as something that could fight an entire fleet. The chamber exploded in chaos. Delegates from dozens of species were shouting, clicking, whistling, and rumbling in their various forms of communication. The universal translators were overwhelmed, creating a mess of confused voices, demanding explanations. "Impossible," breathed the crystalline being, whose form was flickering with patterns that meant severe shock. "Our sensors would have detected such systems." "Your sensors detected exactly what we wanted them to detect," Hyanwu replied calmly. "Human technology is not primitive, delegates. It is carefully disguised. Every merchant vessel in our space carries enough firepower to level a planet. Every exploration ship is actually a stealth warship. Every lightly defended colony has planetary defense grids that make your military installations look like children toys." Consul Theskar was on his feet, now his massive form towering over the chamber. "You are bluffing. If humans possessed such power, you would have used it. You would have conquered weaker species as is natural would." Hyanwu's smile returned, but it was not the diplomatic expression. Aliens had grown used to this. Smile had teeth. "Or would we have done exactly what we did? Integrate peacefully, follow your laws, respect your territories, and hope that civilization could progress without the need for violence." The ambassador gestured to the display, which now showed tactical readouts scrolling past too quickly for most species to follow. "We tried to prove that strength does not require dominance, that advanced technology does not necessitate conquest. For 50 years we demonstrated that a powerful species could choose peace over war." His voice hardened. "But you mistook restraint for weakness. You interpreted mercy as cowardice, and now with the blood of our innocents on your hands, you have forced us to abandon the integration protocol." From his position in the gallery, Captain Minho received another communication from his ship. Lieutenant Commander Young-suk's voice was tight with controlled excitement. "Sir, we are receiving confirmations from across the fleet. Every ship is reporting full combat readiness. Stealth protocols are being abandoned system-wide." The implications hit the alien delegates like physical blows. If every human merchant ship was actually a warship, if every exploration vessel was a stealth destroyer, if every peaceful colony was a fortress, then humanity was not the galaxy's weakest species. They might be its strongest. Ambassador Hyanwu straightened his simple black suit and looked around the chamber with eyes that no longer held any diplomatic warmth. "Delegates of the Galactic Council, I hereby inform you that the Terran Federation is withdrawing from the integration protocol effective immediately. We will no longer pretend to be weak. We will no longer accept insults to our species or attacks on our people." He paused, letting the weight of his words settle over the suddenly quiet chamber around the galaxy. Human stealth technology was shutting down on purpose. Military ships that had hidden for decades were showing themselves. Battle groups that could challenge entire sectors were powering up weapons systems. The careful performance of human helplessness was falling apart in real time. The performance was over. The galaxy was about to meet the real humanity. Several of the smaller alien species were already trying to leave the chamber. Their primitive survival instincts were telling them that something very dangerous was happening. The predator species, like the Vector, were confused because their usual intimidation tactics were not working anymore. The chamber lighting seemed different now, as if the very air had changed. The diplomatic immunity that had protected every delegate for centuries suddenly felt very fragile when faced with a species that had just announced they were no longer playing by the old rules. Ambassador Hyanwu stood perfectly still at the center of it all, no longer the patient supplicant asking for help, but something far more dangerous, a representative of a species that had just taken off its mask and revealed teeth. The chaos in the council chamber reached new heights as the meaning of Ambassador Hyanwu revelations sank in. Delegates from 200 species were trying to contact their home governments, their military commanders, and their intelligence services. All at the same time, the universal translators were overwhelmed by the noise of panicked communications in dozens of languages. From the gallery, Captain Minho watched the proceedings with grim satisfaction. His personal communicator was buzzing constantly with updates from across human space. Every merchant vessel in the galaxy was dropping its disguise Every lightly defended colony was powering up weapon systems that officially did not exist. The careful performance of human weakness was crumbling in real time. "This is madness," shrieked the bird delegate, her feathers puffed to maximum size in a display of extreme worry. "You cannot simply rewrite 50 years of established fact. Our intelligence services would have detected military build-ups of this magnitude." Ambassador Hyan-Wu turned to address her directly, his expression calm despite the pandemonium around him. "Wing Commander, your intelligence services detected exactly what we allowed them to detect. Did you really think the species that went from primitive aircraft to interstellar travel in less than a century had suddenly stopped innovating?" On the central holographic display, new images were appearing faster than most delegates could process them. Human cargo haulers throughout the galaxy were changing themselves into heavy cruisers. Mining stations were revealing themselves to be military outposts bristling with defensive arrays. Even civilian passenger liners were shedding their peaceful exteriors to expose weapon systems that dwarfed most species. Dedicated warships. Consul Theskar, reptilian features had shifted from amusement to something approaching concern. "Even if your claims are true, even if you have hidden your true capabilities, you remain outnumbered." The combined might of the Galactic Council, Hyan-Wu interrupted smoothly, "assumes that what you see is all that exists. Tell me, Consul, how many human colonies do your star charts show?" The question seemed innocent enough. Theskar consulted his personal datapad with one clawed hand. "Approximately 400 settlements across 137 systems. A respectable number for a minor species. 400 visible settlements," the ambassador agreed. "Now, Captain Minho, would you care to provide the actual numbers?" Minho's voice carried clearly from the gallery, his military bearing evident even in the way he spoke. "Classified census data as of this morning: 3,412 settlements across 891 systems. Additional deep space installations classified under Protocol 7 authorization." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the ambient sounds of the station life support systems seemed muted as the full scope of human deception became clear. They had not just hidden their military capabilities, they had hidden the true extent of their expansion across the galaxy. The crystalline delegate form was flickering so rapidly it was painful to look at. "Impossible. We monitor all hyperspace traffic. We track all colonial expansions through the registry systems." "You monitor the traffic we allow you to see," Hyan-Wu replied patiently. "As for colonial registry, why would we register settlements that we preferred to keep secret? Did you think humans were incapable of learning from other species?" "Mistakes." He gestured to the display which now showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy with human presence marked in blue. What had appeared to be scattered outposts in a small region of space was revealed as an extensive network spanning multiple galactic arms. For 50 years we watched species after species make the same error. They expanded, openly registered. Every world announced every technological advancement. And then they found themselves surrounded, outnumbered, and conquered by their neighbors. "We decided to try a different approach." Captain Minho received another communication from Lieutenant Commander Young-Suk. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting massive power signatures throughout human space. The concealed battle groups are coming online. Should I patch the data to the Council display?" "Do it," Minho replied. Quietly, the holographic display updated again, and this time the silence in the chamber was deafening across the galaxy. Massive energy signatures were appearing on sensors as human stealth technology was deliberately deactivated. Battle groups that had remained hidden for decades were revealing themselves, each one capable of challenging entire sectors worth of alien military forces. The Vector Consul was gripping his chair with claws that could rend metal, his earlier confidence evaporating as the scope of human military might. "It became clear you have been planning this entire charade. The integration protocol, it was all preparation for conquest." Hyan-Wu eyebrows rose in genuine surprise. "Consul Theskar, if we wanted to conquer the galaxy, do you not think we would have done so already with our actual capabilities now visible? Look at the tactical situation. How long do you think your hegemony would last against our revealed forces?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Every military analyst in the chamber was running the same calculations, and the results were uniformly terrifying. From the alien perspective, if humanity had been hiding this level of capability for half a century, if their peaceful expansion had actually been the deployment of a massive stealth fleet, then they could have conquered most of known space whenever they chose. Then why? The question came from an unexpected source. Elder Stone, who remembers Starlight of the Ancient Rock People Confederation, the stone being. The voice was like grinding granite, heavy with age and confusion. "Why hide your strength? Why endure insults and losses? Why allow your people to suffer?" Ambassador Hyan-Wu expression softened slightly, showing perhaps the first genuine emotion since the Protocol 7 activation. "Because we hoped we were wrong about the galaxy. We hoped that, given time, given patience, given endless examples of peaceful coexistence, other species would choose cooperation over conquest. We hoped that strength could exist without requiring dominance." His voice hardened again. "We were wrong. The galaxy respects only power. Peace is seen as weakness. Mercy is interpreted as cowardice. So be it." The ambassador straightened his jacket one final time and looked around the chamber at the assembled delegates. "You wanted to see human strength. You wanted us to stop pretending to be harmless merchants and farmers. Congratulations, your wish is granted. Outside, the station's sensors were detecting the approach of something massive, something that had not been there moments before, despite the sophisticated detection. Grids surrounding the council station, something that made every alien military officer in the chamber break out in cold sweat. The real human military was about to make its debut, and the galaxy was completely unprepared for what they were about to see. The massive viewing windows of the council chamber had been designed to showcase the beauty of space, to remind delegates of the vast universe they governed together. Now those same windows revealed something that sent shockwaves through every species present. A human dreadnought that had somehow appeared without triggering any of the station's sophisticated early warning subship was unlike anything in the known galaxy, where alien vessels tended toward functional designs focused on specific roles. This human warship was a statement of technological supremacy. Its hull gleamed with an almost living fluidity, as if it had been grown rather than built. Weapon arrays that could glass planets were integrated so seamlessly into the design that they appeared decorative until you understood what you were looking at. Captain Minho felt a surge of pride as he recognized the vessel, the Sol-class dreadnought Eternal Dawn, flagship of Admiral So-Young's personal fleet. He had served aboard her as a lieutenant 20 years ago, back when she was still classified beyond top-secret clearance levels. In the chamber below, Ambassador Hein Wu was consulting his risk communicator with the casual air of someone checking the time. Admiral So-Young has arrived. I believe she wishes to address the council directly. The holographic communication array activated without any authorization from the council moderators. Another casual demonstration of humanity, technological superiority. The image that appeared was of a woman in her 50s wearing a crisp military uniform that bore no insignia familiar to alien intelligence services. Her face was composed, professional, and absolutely terrifying in its calm certainty. Distinguished delegates of the Galactic Council, Admiral So-Young began, her voice carrying easily through the chamber acoustics. I am Admiral So-Young of the Terran Defense Forces. I have come to discuss the resolution of recent attacks on human civilians. Theska had recovered some of his earlier bluster, though his claws remained extended in a threat display that everyone present recognized. Admiral, your dramatic reveal changes nothing. The Vector hegemony recognizes no consul. Theska, the Admiral interrupted smoothly. You will remain silent while I explain your new situation. The casual dismissal sent ripples of shock through the chamber. No one interrupted a Vector consul. The reptilian beings were among the galaxy's most feared warriors, and their diplomatic protocols demanded elaborate shows of respect. Raiders took approximately 12,000 human civilians from 3 of our colonies. Our intelligence services have tracked them to processing facilities in your territory, where they are being prepared for sale in your slave markets. The Admiral voice remained perfectly level, as if she were discussing weather patterns. You have 72 hours to return every human citizen to neutral territory, along with full medical care for any injuries they have sustained. This car form swelled with rage, his threat display reaching maximum intensity. You dare make demands of the Vector hegemony? We are warriors. We bow to no soft species. Additionally, Admiral So-Young continued, as if he had not spoken, you will provide reparations equivalent to 100 times the economic value of the destroyed infrastructure, plus pain and suffering compensation for every affected family. Our accounting department has calculated that total at approximately 400 billion galactic standard credits. The numbers were staggering. 400 billion credits represented roughly half the Vector hegemony annual gross domestic product. Several delegates were checking their translators, certain they had misheard. And if we refuse? Theskar's voice was a low growl that had intimidated species across the galaxy for millennia. Admiral So-Young's expression did not change. Her voice remained level, professional, almost bored. Then in 72 hours and 1 minute the Vector hegemony will cease to exist. The silence that followed was broken only by the ambient sounds of the station life support systems. Even the most aggressive species in the council had never heard such a casual declaration of genocide. You are bluffing, whispered the bird delegate, her feathers now pressed flat against her body in pure terror. No civilized species would commit such an act. Civilized? Admiral So-Young repeated thoughtfully. Yes, we tried civilization. We tried diplomacy, compromise, patience. We tried following your laws and respecting your customs. The result was the systematic murder and enslavement of our people. While this council sat in comfortable chambers and did nothing, she leaned forward slightly, and for the first time emotion entered her voice. You mistake civilization for weakness. You confuse mercy with inability. These are errors in judgment that my species will no longer tolerate. From his position in the gallery, Captain Minho watched the alien delegates process this new reality. Some were frantically contacting their governance. Others were running probability analyses on their personal computers. A few of the more intelligent ones were simply sitting in stunned silence as they realized how completely they had misunderstood humanity's place in the galaxy. Theska, Admiral So-Young's attention returned to the Vector representative. I need your answer. Will you comply with our terms, or shall I give the order to begin sterilization of your worlds? The reptilian being was trembling now, though whether from rage or fear was impossible to determine. The other species will never allow such genocide. The Galactic Council will unite against human Soyoung's smile was colder than the vacuum of space. Will they, Captain Minho, please share the current tactical assessment with our friends? The chamber display updated to show real-time fleet positions throughout the galaxy. Human vessels that had been hiding in plain sight for decades were now visible on sensors, and their positions told a story that made every military analyst in the chamber break out in cold sweat. Every major alien world was within striking distance of human forces. Every important trade route was covered by stealth battle groups. Every military installation faced overwhelming human firepower. If the aliens tried to unite against humanity, they would be fighting from a position of hopeless disadvantage. This is why we tried diplomacy first, Ambassador Heinwu said quietly from the chamber floor. Not because we lacked the power to simply take what we wanted, but because we hoped the galaxy could be better than endless cycles of conquest and submission. He looked around the chamber at faces that were finally beginning to understand the true scope of their miscalculation. We gave you 50 years to prove that civilization could work, that different species could coexist without the strong devouring the weak. Voice grew sad. We were wrong about you, All Admiral Soyoung. Image leaned back in her command chair. Consul Theskar, I am still waiting for your answer. The clock is ticking, and my patience, like my species' tolerance for injustice, has reached its end. The Vector Consul looked around the chamber, seeking support that was no longer there. The other delegates were too busy calculating their own survival to worry about ancient alliances. His species had built their reputation on being the galaxy's most feared redditors, but they had just encountered something that made them look like children playing at war. The answer, when it came, was barely a whisper. We will comply with your terms. Admiral Soyoung nodded, as if she had expected nothing else. The new reality begins now. The galaxy will learn to coexist peacefully, or it will learn what happens when humanity stops being polither. Transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in complete silence. The age of human weakness was over, and everyone present knew that nothing would ever be the same again.